There's one zodiac sign that will never scream at you, never chase you, never beg for closure. But they will disappear. Without warning. Without a trace. And when they do, you won't even realize it was your words that drove them away. That sign is Capricorn. And in this video, we're going to reveal 12 simple phrases that secretly infuriate them. Even if you meant no harm. Even if you thought it was just a joke. Even if you were just being honest. To the rest of the world, these phrases might sound harmless. But to a Capricorn, they're like poison dressed in politeness. Insults wearing a smile. Disrespect camouflaged as advice. Say one of them at the wrong time, and you'll never get the same version of that Capricorn again. They'll keep it professional. They'll stay composed. But inside, they've already withdrawn. And the door you didn't know you closed may never reopen. This isn't about walking on eggshells. This is about learning to speak the language of the most misunderstood sign in the zodiac. A sign that sees through the surface. That remembers every detail. That values silence more than cheap apologies. So before you say, just relax. Before you laugh and tell them, you're overthinking it. Ask yourself this. Are you ready to lose their trust for good? If not, keep watching, because once you understand these 12 hidden triggers, you'll never speak to a Capricorn the same way again. And maybe, just maybe, you'll finally understand why they stopped talking to you in the first place. Trigger number 1. Just relax. Why Capricorn doesn't see it as comfort, but as disrespect. It always starts small. A casual moment. A seemingly harmless sentence. The kind that floats in the air without warning, without weight until it lands on a Capricorn. That's when everything changes. It was 8:17 a.m. The office hadn't officially opened yet, but Maya had already been at her desk for over an hour. Not because she was behind. Not because she had to. Because that's what excellence demands, and Capricorn never negotiates with mediocrity. She had reviewed the proposal 4 times already. Adjusted the alignment of each section header. Double-checked the budget breakdown line by line. Not one decimal point was out of place. For Maya, this wasn't over-preparation. It was precision. It was self-respect. At 8:23, Brandon walked in, 23 minutes late. Coffee in hand. No apology. No notebook. Just vibes. He hovered over her shoulder, glancing at the dense project brief she was finalizing. And then, he laughed, the kind of dismissive laugh that pretends to be friendly. "You're so serious all the time," he said. "Just relax." Silence. To the untrained eye, nothing changed. Maya kept typing. Her eyes didn't even blink. But inside her mind, something shifted, and it would not shift back. What Brandon didn't know is this. Capricorns do not treat seriousness as a mood. It's not a switch they flip on and off. It's a value system. A code. A sacred way of moving through the world. When they're serious, they're not trying to impress you. They're honoring the work. They're protecting the outcome. They're showing respect for the people involved, even for people like Brandon, who don't show up on time. So when you tell a Capricorn to just relax, what you're really saying is, stop caring so much. Stop honoring the structure. Dilute your integrity for my comfort. Capricorns don't take that lightly. They don't raise their voice. They don't tell you how offended they are. They simply note it. Internally. Permanently. Because to a Capricorn, telling them to just relax is like telling a surgeon to just guess. Telling a pilot to just wing it. Telling a monk to just stop praying for a bit. What you see as calm, they hear as careless. Capricorn's reaction isn't anger. It's distance. Later that day, Brandon would still laugh with the team. Still act like everything was fine. But Maya, she'd already shifted the weight of her trust. She wouldn't assign him to the next high-stakes project. She wouldn't copy him on sensitive correspondence. And when performance reviews came around, he wouldn't know why his opportunity had already come and gone. Capricorns don't seek revenge. They recalibrate. They believe people show you who they are in small moments, and that those moments echo louder than any apology could. The life lesson. If you ever find yourself wanting to tell a Capricorn to relax, Stop and ask why their focus bothers you. Is it their discipline that makes you uncomfortable? Their precision? Their unwavering standards? Because chances are, it's not about them. It's about you. Capricorn doesn't need you to match their energy, but they do need you to respect it. Trigger number 2, you're too intense. Why Capricorn's focus feels threatening and what people misunderstand about it. It was a Sunday afternoon, one of those rare moments Maya allowed herself to slow down. Not to rest, but to reset a different kind of discipline. She sat at her favorite cafe, laptop open, earbuds in, reviewing her 5-year expansion plan. The table was covered in color-coded documents, market analysis, projected margins, operational risk maps. She was doing what she loved most, thinking 10 steps ahead while the world stayed distracted in the present. Across from her sat Lily, her younger sister. Carefree, open-hearted, the kind of person who lived in the moment like it was her full-time job. She smiled watching Maya work. But that smile slowly morphed into concern, then criticism. "Don't you think you're too intense about all this?" Lily said, placing her coffee down with a dramatic thud. "You've already built something amazing. Why not just enjoy what you have instead of obsessing over what's next?" Maya looked up. No anger. No visible offense. Just the kind of silence that happens right before a tectonic plate shifts. Because here's what most people don't realize. Capricorn's intensity is not obsession. It's sacred focus. It's a fire that burns clean and slow, deep under the surface. The kind of fire that doesn't just spark, it sustains. When you call a Capricorn too intense, you're not just commenting on their energy. You're questioning the source of their power. Their goals aren't about greed. They're about becoming. They're about building something that reflects who they are, something that will outlast them. To a Capricorn, ambition isn't a ladder. It's a mirror. They don't chase titles or trophies. They pursue proof that they've honored their potential, their time, their sacrifices. So when someone close to them suggests they tone it down, it doesn't feel like concern. It feels like a request to dim the light that guides them. To a Capricorn, that's not love. It's erosion. What happens next? Maya didn't debate Lily. She smiled. She nodded. She changed the subject. But deep down, something pulled away. Not out of spite, but clarity. Capricorn rarely cuts people off dramatically. They simply rearrange their inner circle according to alignment. And when someone reveals they can't hold space for a Capricorn's fire, that fire won't burn them. It will just move elsewhere. The life lesson. Capricorn's intensity is not a problem to be solved. It's a gift to be understood. It's the reason your bills are paid. The reason that company runs smoothly. The reason you have someone in your life who won't let things fall apart even when they want to. Before you label a Capricorn as too much, ask yourself, would you say the same about a bridge builder? A surgeon? A guardian? Intensity isn't the enemy. In a world of distractions and detours, it might be the very thing keeping everything together. Trigger number 3, let's just wing it. Why spontaneity feels like sabotage to a Capricorn. The event was supposed to be flawless. 10 years of building a company from the ground up. 10 years of sacrifices that no one saw. Late nights, silent breakdowns, deadlines met with blood and caffeine. This anniversary wasn't just a party. It was a statement. Maya had prepared a 12-page run of show, every speech timed, every spotlight cue mapped out, down to the second. The venue was impeccable. The branding, elegant. Even the scent in the room, jasmine and cedar, had been carefully chosen to represent resilience and clarity. Then Carlos walked in. The lead event coordinator, charismatic, laid back, always in the moment. He skimmed through the program Maya handed him and offered a casual shrug. I say we just wing it. These things always feel better when they're spontaneous, you know? Maya blinked. 1 heartbeat. 2. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't argue. She simply placed her pen down. And when she looked at Carlos, the warmth in her expression had been replaced by something cooler, precise, like a scalpel. Because here's what Carlos didn't understand. Spontaneity is not charming to a Capricorn. It's chaos. Capricorn doesn't fear change, they prepare for it. They don't resist risk, they assess and neutralize it. When you say let's wing it to a Capricorn, you're not inviting creativity. You're dismissing their dedication. You're rejecting the time they spent building a structure that holds everything together. It's like telling an architect to eyeball the blueprints, or a conductor to skip rehearsal and feel the vibe. That might work in movies, but in Capricorn's world, structure is sacred. Capricorn believes in earned outcomes. They don't just want things to go well. They want them to go right, on purpose. So when you ask them to toss the plan, what you're really saying is, your preparation doesn't matter. Your standards are optional. Let's gamble with your reputation and hope for the best. To Capricorn, that's not boldness. It's betrayal. The fallout. Maya didn't fire Carlos. She didn't cancel the event. But from that moment on, she assigned a different coordinator to all major functions, one who respected timelines, not vibes. Because Capricorn doesn't take failure lightly, especially failure that could have been avoided with a plan. They don't forget who showed up unprepared. They just make sure next time, they don't invite them to the table. The life lesson. Capricorn doesn't micromanage because they're rigid. They do it because they care more than anyone else in the room. Behind every checklist is a deep desire to protect something meaningful. A vision. A reputation. A legacy. So the next time you feel tempted to say, let's just wing it to a Capricorn, pause. Ask yourself if you're genuinely contributing, or simply avoiding responsibility. Because to Capricorn, winging it isn't brave. It's reckless. Trigger number 4, you work too hard, it's not that important. Why telling a Capricorn to stop trying so hard is the fastest way to lose their respect. The cafe was quiet, like it always was at that hour. Early morning sunlight spilled through the windows. The kind of peace most people sleep through. But not Maya. She'd already completed her morning routine, meditation, cardio, email triage. Now she sat with her father, as she did once a month, sipping black coffee and reviewing her planner between sips. Her father, a retired engineer with deep lines of quiet wisdom on his face, watched her as she restructured her project timeline, penciled in revisions, and mapped out deliverables. He cleared his throat gently. "Honey," he said, "I love your drive, I really do. But you work too hard. None of this is that important. You don't have to kill yourself over it." Maya didn't argue. She closed her planner softly, smiled. But her eyes had changed. Because that one sentence, wrapped in love, soaked in concern, didn't feel like support. It felt like a dismissal. Here's what most people miss. Capricorn doesn't work hard because they're chasing trophies. They work hard because they believe effort is a moral obligation. Every late night, every extra revision, every meeting prepared days in advance. It's not performative. It's principle. To Capricorn, effort is how they show respect. For the opportunity. For the people they serve. For themselves. So when someone tells them, it's not that important, what they hear is, your standards don't matter. Your values are misplaced. You're wasting your life. But to Capricorn, work isn't a waste. It's a calling. You don't tell a Capricorn to stop caring. You don't tell a sculptor to stop chiseling. You don't tell a violinist to stop tuning. You don't tell a Capricorn that their labor is too much. Because to them, it's never about impressing others. It's about honoring the invisible code that governs their entire existence. Discipline, integrity, responsibility. Take those away, and who are they? The consequence. Capricorn won't lash out. They won't start an argument over coffee. But the quiet emotional fracture, it happens immediately. From that moment forward, they'll filter what they share with you. Not out of punishment, out of protection. Because if you can't understand why they work so hard, you can't understand them. The life lesson. Capricorns don't need applause. They don't crave attention. But what they do need deeply is for the people closest to them to recognize the meaning behind their efforts. The hours they pour into their craft. The silence they endure. The pride they carry, often alone. So the next time you're tempted to say, you work too hard, Try this instead. I see how much you care, and I admire it. That's the kind of sentence Capricorn never forgets. Trigger number 5, you're just like your mother. Why comparing a Capricorn to someone else, even someone they respect, cuts deeper than you think. The networking event was buzzing. Entrepreneurs mingled with consultants, ideas flew across the room faster than the champagne. But Maya stood calm in the chaos, perfectly composed, scanning faces, listening more than she spoke, the way Capricorn does best. She was mid-conversation with Taylor, a business coach she'd known since college. They'd just been discussing leadership challenges when Taylor leaned in with a familiar, knowing grin. "You're just like your mother," she said warmly. She never knew when to stop working either. It was meant as a compliment. But for Maya, it landed like a shadow. Her smile stayed intact. Her tone didn't change. But inside, her core recoiled. Because for Capricorn, comparison isn't flattering. It's a theft of identity. You see, Capricorns spend their entire lives crafting who they are brick by brick. They don't just turn into someone. They design themselves with intention. Every habit, every decision, every sacrifice. Calculated, earned, fought for. So when you reduce them to a reflection of someone else, even someone admirable, it's not inspiring. It's reductive. Because it implies they didn't choose this. That they're just repeating a pattern. That their uniqueness was never real to begin with. To Capricorn, identity is legacy. And legacy must be original. They may carry traits from their parents. They may even revere them. But they do not want to be defined by them. Their life is not a rerun. It's a blueprint. One they've drawn through blood, discipline, and conscious detachment from anything that feels like a mold. So when you say, "You're just like," you might as well say, everything you built for yourself doesn't really belong to you. What happens next? Capricorn won't confront you. They won't correct you. But something in their connection to you changes. You'll feel it. They'll become a little less open, a little more measured in what they reveal. Because to them, if you can't see the distinction in their path, you haven't really seen them at all. The life lesson. Capricorns aren't trying to be better than anyone. They're trying to be true to themselves. Their drive for excellence isn't about outshining others. It's about living with clarity that their story is their own. So before you compare them to someone else, pause. And instead of labeling, try honoring. Say, what you're doing is powerful. And it's so clearly, you. That's what a Capricorn remembers. Not who you compare them to, but when you finally recognized them for who they really are. Trigger number 6, success isn't everything. Why saying this to a Capricorn doesn't make you sound deep, it makes you sound disconnected. They sat across from each other in a quiet downtown cafe, Maya and her younger brother, Alex. He had just graduated from business school. Ambitious, idealistic, full of passion and vision. He wanted to launch a sustainable fashion brand, something modern, disruptive, and values-driven. Maya listened carefully, silently noting the missing parts. No supplier chain. No revenue plan. No contingency if the marketing flopped. Just dreams, enthusiasm, and hope. She waited until he finished, then spoke. "Your idea is strong," she said gently, "but you'll need a real entry strategy. And some financial modeling. Have you thought about logistics? Forecasting? Labor cost?" Alex leaned back, clearly frustrated. "Not everything's about numbers, Maya. Success isn't everything. I want to enjoy the journey, not obsess over metrics and outcomes like you do." She didn't respond right away. But internally, she had already stepped back emotionally, spiritually, permanently. Because what Alex saw as balance, Maya heard as a dismissal of everything she had ever built. Here's the truth. To a Capricorn, success isn't just about money or power. It's about honoring their potential. It's proof they didn't waste their time. Proof that the early mornings, late nights, sacrifices, and self-doubt weren't for nothing. Proof that they followed through on what they said they'd do when no one else was watching. So when someone says, success isn't everything, what Capricorn hears is, excellence doesn't matter. Your effort is excessive. You're missing the point of life. But they're not missing the point. They're living with purpose. And that purpose is expressed through achievement, not ego, but ethics. Capricorns don't chase gold stars. They chase legacy. They don't care about trophies. They care about impact. They want to know that what they built will last longer than applause, that it will stand when trendsetters and shortcuts have long disappeared. To tell a Capricorn that success isn't everything is to assume they don't already know that. They do. They just define success differently. For them, it's about living up to the vision they carry within. It's about proving to themselves that they were strong enough to become who they were meant to be. What happens next? Capricorn won't fight you. They'll just stop explaining themselves. Because when someone treats their drive like an illness, they know they've outgrown that conversation. You won't lose their love, but you'll lose their vulnerability. And without that, you'll never see who they really are beneath the structure. The life lesson. Success is not the problem. Avoidance of excellence is. Capricorns don't need everyone to have the same goals, but they need the people around them to respect that their goals matter. So next time you feel the urge to say, success isn't everything, try this instead. I see how hard you've worked, and I hope you're proud because you should be. That one sentence. It affirms their identity. Because for Capricorn, success isn't everything, but it is something. Something sacred. And something earned. Trigger number 7. Why can't you be more spontaneous? Why disrupting a Capricorn's rhythm is not liberation, it's a form of violence. It was a Friday night. The energy in the apartment was alive, music thumping softly, lights low and golden, the scent of clove and citrus hanging in the air. Elena, Maya's best friend since college, a spirited Sagittarius, held a champagne flute in one hand and a spontaneous idea in the other. We're leaving tomorrow morning, she beamed. A road trip to the coast. Marco's cousin has a beach house. The weather's perfect, the group's set. Come on, it's exactly what you need. Maya looked up from her phone, which held her detailed weekend schedule. Quarterly strategy review. Deep cleaning her apartment. Sunday morning client check-in. A long-delayed spreadsheet audit. I appreciate it, Maya said with a soft smile, but I've already made commitments for the weekend. Elena pouted. Then came the sentence, sugar-coated in excitement but sharp as glass to a Capricorn's ear. Why can't you just be more spontaneous? You're too rigid, Maya. It would be good for you to break out of your routine. Maya's smile remained. But inwardly, a door clicked shut. Because what Elena thought was playful criticism felt like the deepest kind of misunderstanding. To a Capricorn, time is not a playground. It's a sacred currency. Every block on their calendar isn't just about productivity. It's a promise, a container for purpose, a structure that holds their mental peace in place. Being spontaneous isn't just inconvenient to a Capricorn. It's disrespectful to everything they've built their day and life around. Here's what people don't understand. Capricorns don't avoid spontaneity because they're boring. They avoid it because they respect time, theirs and yours. Every plan is a boundary. Every schedule is a shield. So when you say, why can't you be more spontaneous, what you're really saying is, why can't you be more careless with your energy? Why can't you forget your priorities, just for me? And to a Capricorn, that's not freedom. That's erosion. That's an ask to betray themselves. Capricorn's relationship with time is spiritual. They don't live in reaction. They live in design. When they say no, it's not rejection. It's alignment. They don't fear missing out, they fear misplacing their focus. And the people who don't understand that don't get to see the full depth of who they are. The consequence. Capricorn won't argue. They'll politely decline. But they will remember. And the next time you come with another last-minute plan, another surprise disruption masked as adventure, they might not even respond. Not out of coldness, but wisdom. Because if you can't honor their rhythm, you don't deserve their presence. The life lesson. Spontaneity might be fun for you. But for Capricorn, it can feel like sabotage. Their plans are not chains. They are freedom earned through order. They are clarity in a world of chaos. So next time you want to invite a Capricorn into something spontaneous, try this. I know you like to plan ahead, but if you ever want a break, the door's open. That simple respect. It means more than the invitation itself. Because to a Capricorn, what matters most isn't the fun. It's that you considered their time sacred too. Trigger number 8. That promotion doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Why minimizing a Capricorn's achievements feels like erasing part of their soul. The award had been unexpected, but deeply earned. Maya had just received industry recognition for her firm's groundbreaking work in sustainable urban design. It wasn't just another plaque for the shelf. It was confirmation, validation, proof that the hours, the sacrifices, the emotional solitude had meant something. She didn't need a parade. But this one evening, at a dinner party hosted by her friend Elena, she allowed herself a rare softness. Until James spoke. A colleague from a partner firm. Charming. Philosophical. The kind who always tried to sound deeper than the room required. That award's great, he said with a casual smirk. But that promotion you've been chasing, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, does it? I mean, it's just a title. Maya paused. She took a sip of water, said nothing, and in that quiet, she disappeared from the conversation emotionally, psychologically, cosmically. Because here's what James didn't understand. To a Capricorn, titles are not about ego. They're about earned positioning. They don't chase promotions to boost their status. They chase them to confirm that their contributions are real, recognized, respected. Capricorns don't attach their worth to labels, but they do believe the right labels reflect earned trust. So when someone reduces their achievement to just a title, it's not humility. It's insult. For Capricorn, progress is sacred. Every step forward is a reflection of discipline, of internal mastery, of decisions made when no one else was watching. A promotion isn't about hierarchy, it's about alignment. It says, you were seen. You were valued. You mattered. When that's dismissed with a shrug, Capricorn hears. You could have given less and no one would notice. That's not philosophy. That's emotional theft. The consequence. Capricorn won't defend their success to you. They won't try to explain why it matters. They'll just log it away, another person who doesn't get it. Another conversation that no longer deserves their truth. Because if you can't see why they strive, you don't deserve to walk beside them on the climb. The life lesson. Capricorns aren't climbing for applause. They're climbing to fulfill a contract with themselves, one made in silence, rooted in integrity. You don't have to celebrate every one of their victories. But if you diminish them, you become the reason they celebrate in solitude. Next time you see a Capricorn reach a milestone, don't say, it's just a title. Say, I see how much it cost you, and it was worth it. That kind of recognition, it's the fuel Capricorn never forgets. Trigger number 9, your 5-year plan is too much, life's unpredictable. Why telling a Capricorn to stop planning is like asking them to stop breathing. They were sitting under string lights at an open-air restaurant, a rare evening of slow time. Maya, notebook open beside her untouched dinner, was sharing something personal with Marcos, Elena's brother. Her 5-year plan. Not just for her firm, for her life. She spoke with quiet conviction about growth phases, personal development checkpoints, even scheduled sabbaticals and mentoring initiatives. Each line in her plan wasn't just a task. It was an intention. A contract with her future self. Marcos listened, half interested, half intimidated. He finally leaned back and gave her a lopsided smile. Don't take this the wrong way, he said, but your 5-year plan feels kind of excessive. Life doesn't work that way. It's too unpredictable. Don't you think you're trying to control too much? Maya set her pen down. Not defensively, just deliberately. What he didn't understand, and never would, was that her plan wasn't about control. It was about faith. Here's what most people misunderstand. Capricorn doesn't plan because they fear change. They plan because they respect change. They know storms are inevitable. So they build walls with purpose. They know detours happen. So they draw maps that include alternate routes. Their planning isn't about perfection. It's about preparation. It's how they stay anchored in a world that moves too fast, breaks too easy, and rarely rewards the unprepared. To Capricorn, planning is peace. It's not rigidity. It's resilience. It's not control. It's care. So when someone says, "Life's too unpredictable to plan," what Capricorn hears is, "Stop trying to shape your destiny. Let life throw you wherever it wants. Be comfortable drifting." And that's not how Capricorn was built. They weren't made to drift. They were made to climb. The emotional consequence. Capricorn doesn't argue. They don't try to prove their strategy. They simply remove you from the mental inner circle of people who get it. Not with malice, with clarity. Because if you see their structure as excess, you will never understand their architecture of strength. The life lesson. Capricorns don't plan to control the future. They plan to meet it with dignity. Their calendars aren't about micromanaging hours. They're about investing energy wisely. Because time, to them, is the most sacred, non-renewable resource. Before you say, "Why plan so far ahead?" Try this. "I admire how seriously you treat your future. It shows." That one line builds a bridge instead of a wall. Because for Capricorn, planning isn't about being rigid. It's about being ready. Trigger number 10, you don't need to be responsible for everyone. Why asking a Capricorn to let go of responsibility is like asking them to abandon who they are. The emergency meeting had been called last minute. A major community center project, one of Maya's firm's most meaningful builds, had hit a regulatory wall. Environmental concerns, public backlash, city red tape. Tensions ran high. Her team filled the conference room, some with panic behind their eyes, others too green to know how serious it was. But Maya, calm, clear, commanding. She listened to every department, asked precise questions. Then, she laid out a plan. Who would do what? When? How? Deadlines. Escalation protocols. Community liaisons. And then, Richard, a new project manager, sharp but still untempered, leaned forward and said it. "Maya, I appreciate your thoroughness. But you don't have to be responsible for everything and everyone. Let us handle this without your constant oversight. Honestly, you're micromanaging again." She froze. Not visibly. But inside, the earth moved. Because what Richard thought was leadership advice felt to Maya like an attack on her very core. Here's what he didn't get. Capricorn doesn't take on responsibility out of control issues. They do it because they understand consequences. Deeply. Personally. Historically. They know what happens when people drop the ball. They've been there. They've had to pick up the broken pieces. And now, they refuse to let things collapse under their watch. To them, leadership isn't about ego. It's about stewardship. It's about standing in the fire so others don't burn. So when someone tells a Capricorn, "You don't need to be responsible for everyone," what they hear is, "Step back. Lower your standards. Let the chips fall." But that goes against everything they believe. To Capricorn, responsibility is not a burden, it's a calling. They don't want to be praised for it. They don't want to be rescued from it. They want it to be respected. Because to them, being responsible is how they express love. How they show integrity. How they lead by example, not because they crave control, but because someone has to. They are the steady hand when others tremble. The structure when others scatter. And if you shame them for that, you sever trust they may never rebuild. What happens next? Maya didn't raise her voice. She didn't defend herself. She calmly delegated the next tasks. But in her mind, she adjusted the way she saw Richard. No longer a partner. Just another person who didn't understand what real leadership costs. The life lesson. Capricorns aren't trying to control everything. They're trying to honor everything. If you see their responsibility as too much, it means you've never carried what they've carried. Or you've forgotten what it feels like to be abandoned. So instead of saying, You don't have to be responsible for everyone. Say this: I see how much you carry, and I'm here to help hold the weight. That earns a Capricorn's trust more than praise ever will. Trigger number 11. Let's just take a shortcut no one will notice. Why suggesting a shortcut to a Capricorn feels like asking them to betray their own soul. The renovation project was massive, a historic theatre being transformed into a cultural hub for underserved youth. It was delicate work. Layers of history, fragile architecture, hidden faults in the foundation that no one had anticipated. Maya stood with her design team in front of a projected schematic. She had reviewed every inch of it for weeks. They were behind schedule, over budget, and now faced a choice. Zoe, the lead designer, tapped the screen with her stylus and sighed. There's a quicker fix. It won't address everything, but no one ever inspects that part of the structure thoroughly. We could patch it. Save time. Stay on track. No one will notice. A nervous laugh followed. A joke. A suggestion. A shortcut. But to Maya, it was a violation. Her spine straightened. Her eyes sharpened. And in that moment, her silence spoke louder than any reprimand ever could. Because here's the truth about Capricorn. They don't cut corners. They carve legacies. And if something is worth building, it's worth building right. To them, shortcuts aren't clever. They're cowardly. They're invitations to future failure disguised as efficiency. So when someone says, let's just take a shortcut no one will notice, what Capricorn hears is, let's compromise integrity. Let's gamble with trust. Let's sacrifice quality for speed. And that is unacceptable. Capricorn's foundation is built on integrity. Not the kind you display for applause. The kind you uphold when no one's watching. The kind that makes you stay late, pay more, wait longer because it's right. Because one cracked beam unseen now becomes a collapse 5 years later. They don't build for the short term. They build for permanence. So when someone suggests cheating the process, they're not saving time. They're eroding trust. What happens next? Maya didn't yell, didn't belittle. She simply stated, we'll do it the right way. Extend the timeline. Adjust the budget. Because we don't build shortcuts. We build what lasts. The room went quiet. And Zoe, she never suggested a shortcut again. Because Capricorn doesn't argue over ethics. They just enforce them by example. The life lesson. Capricorns measure success by one standard. Can it withstand time? If you try to rush them, pressure them, or cut corners with them, you don't just risk the project. You risk their trust. And once that's broken, no apology can rebuild what you've cracked. So instead of saying, no one will notice, try this. You're right, it matters. Let's do it properly. That one choice earns more respect than years of empty praise. Because to Capricorn, a legacy isn't built by being clever. It's built by being honest. Trigger number 12. Your reputation isn't that important. Why telling a Capricorn not to care what others think is like asking them to forget what they've spent a lifetime building. The interview had been going well. A design magazine journalist was profiling Maya's firm, a feature on urban renewal and architectural legacy. The questions were thoughtful. The tone respectful. Until the final moments, when the interviewer leaned forward, voice casual. With all the success your firm is having, and the attention, the press, the accolades, wouldn't you say your reputation is kind of overrated? I mean, it's about the work itself, not what people say about it, right? A soft, still pause. Maya crossed one leg over the other. Her expression didn't change, but her presence did. Sharper now. Colder. Because what the interviewer thought was philosophical musing was, to Maya, a direct insult. To Capricorn, reputation isn't vanity. It's legacy in motion. It's not about appearances. It's about consistency. It's what happens when you do the right thing over and over, even when no one's watching. It's the echo of integrity carried forward by time. So when someone says, your reputation isn't that important, what Capricorn hears is, It doesn't matter how you show up. Your years of discipline and sacrifice can be reduced to a vibe. Truth is subjective, so relax. But Capricorn doesn't believe truth is subjective. They believe it's proven. And reputation is the proof. Capricorns protect their name like a builder protects a foundation, because they know how long it takes to earn trust, and how quickly it can be destroyed. They aren't obsessed with image. They're devoted to credibility. They know that without trust, there's no influence, no leadership, no lasting impact. So when someone tells them reputation isn't important, it reveals a value system that's alien to them. Rootless, fragile, temporary. And Capricorn doesn't build with temporary materials. The consequence? Maya answered the question, poised, polished, on message. But the subtle shift was clear. The rest of the interview? Surface level. Controlled. Because once someone reveals they don't understand the weight of reputation, Capricorn stops giving them anything that requires depth. The life lesson. Reputation, to Capricorn, isn't about ego. It's about evidence. It's the track record of how they've shown up in the world under pressure, in silence, when it mattered most. If you want to earn their trust, don't tell them to stop caring what others think. Tell them this. The way you carry yourself makes people feel safe, inspired, and seen. That's rare, and it matters. Because to Capricorn, your work may be invisible to many, but your reputation, that's the shadow of your character under the light of time, and they guard it with their life. Closing reflections, what Capricorn's anger really reveals. Why understanding their triggers is the first step toward earning their trust and their respect. You've just heard 12 phrases. 12 simple sentences. Each one seemingly harmless. Each one a spark, capable of lighting a fire in the quiet heart of Capricorn. But here's what you need to understand. Capricorn doesn't get angry the way other signs do. They don't explode. They don't lash out. They withdraw. They remember. They shift. And sometimes they leave, without saying a single word. Because for Capricorn, the words you speak aren't just words. They're data points. They're patterns. They're evidence. And when the evidence says, "You don't respect what I value," Capricorn doesn't argue. They close the case. Behind every silent Capricorn is a storm of values held tightly beneath the surface. Integrity, structure, loyalty, precision, discipline. These aren't quirks. They are sacred codes. So when you say something that violates one of those codes, even unintentionally, you're not just offending them. You're wounding something foundational inside them. And once that foundation is cracked, it's not easily repaired. Capricorn isn't cold. They're cautious. They're not arrogant. They're exacting. They're not uptight. They're honoring something deeper, a legacy, a standard, a silent agreement they made with themselves long ago. I will not waste this life. I will not move through the world carelessly. And I will not allow people who treat seriousness like a flaw to have access to the heart I protect with armor. So what's the lesson here? It's not to walk on eggshells around Capricorn. It's to walk with awareness. To speak with respect. To recognize that not everyone wears their feelings on their sleeve, some carry it in their posture, in their schedule, in their silence. Capricorns don't demand much. But what they do demand matters. Respect their time. Honor their effort. Value their plans. Don't laugh at their ambition. And never ever suggest that cutting corners is good enough. Because when you truly understand a Capricorn, you gain more than just their forgiveness. You gain their loyalty, their brilliance, their protection, their trust. And that is rarer than gold. If this video helped you understand the Capricorn in your life or yourself, then stay with us. Because at Zodiac Secrets Revealed, we go far beyond surface-level astrology. We go deep into the psychology, the emotional truth, and the cosmic legacy each zodiac sign carries. Every week, we uncover what others overlook. If you want more than horoscopes, if you want wisdom, truth, real stories, real soul, Then subscribe to Zodiac Secrets Revealed right now. And before you go, tell us in the comments. Have you ever said something that quietly pushed a Capricorn away and didn't realize it until it was too late? Or, if you are a Capricorn, which of these phrases triggered something in you today? Your experience might just help someone else understand the Capricorn they love before it's too late. Until next time, stay wise, stay intentional, and never forget, the strongest people are often the quietest, because they carry what no one else is willing to.